So anyways, though, so if you go into a business with and you're in this box of rigidness, right? Well, then you stay in that box, I believe, forever until something, either you fail, you break because nobody wants to get in that box with you. Yeah. But then if you create this environment of, and there's nothing wrong with that rigid box if that's your business. I mean, you can't wear flip flops and shorts and at an investment bank.
Right.
You can't do that. I got it. But that's not a business that I choose to be in because I don't want to wear wingtips and a suit every day.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? But if you create this environment, and I tell you, like pre-COVID, and our business was way different from post-COVID. It's a totally different looking thing. Now I've always worn flip flops and shorts. Like when I left the corporate world, I'm like, I ain't doing that anymore.
Right.
And I'm not putting my office on the corner of Lenox Road and Peachtree, which most of my competition is in Alpharetta or Alliance or Midtown, and they're in a really expensive office complex. But I just didn't feel like I didn't need to do that.
Yeah.
You could run one of these companies as long as you got enough people to go talk to. You can run them anywhere.
Yeah,
and especially if you're good on the phones.
Yeah, like
if you're good on the phones, which I'm not. I'm a face-to-face guy, but it's just then you got to hire people to your environment. Like you got to bring them in and go, this might not be your cup of tea, which is fine. I want you to go find what is your cup of tea. This life is short, buddy. You better love what you do every day.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people out there.
Of course,
there's no shortage of people to work with.
Yeah,
and there are people out there that would rather work with you than the dude in the wingtips.
Of course, yeah.
You know what I mean? So you're not losing out on anything.
No, but there's, when you get out of college and you're in a business school and whatever business school it is, a lot of these people a lot of young guys have this false premise of what they might want to do, and then they get in the world like, I really didn't want to do that, and some of them go, I do want to do that. I still want to wear the suit.
Yeah,
like I like that. Mm-hmm. But to tell you this, we engaged with a hiring not a temp agent, a placement agent that just was for credit card processing. They were vertically payments only. Mm-hmm. And the guy was in Roswell, and so he was local. And he goes, well, what do you want? And he's going through his whole thing. I was like, dude, you have to come to my office. You have to. And we'll do the meeting from my office, and then you'll understand immediately when you walk in, it is not who you've been recruiting for at all.
Yeah.
Like you have been recruiting for the Lennox and Roswells, the Alpharettas, that's who you've been recruiting for. We're not that. Like you walk in, we have a dartboard and a podcast room, and and I'll kick a soccer ball into a trash can half the day. It's just it's different. And right when he walked in, he's like, oh, okay, I get it. Yeah, I needed to come here. Right. Yeah. We never placed anybody with him, or he never placed anybody with us. He couldn't find them. So we got to go grassroots, buddy. Well, Richard, welcome to Burn the Ship. Burn the Ship is a entrepreneur podcast. We love to hear about, your successes, your failures, how you got into it. Going to your past. But I'm going to give you the floor.
Yeah, man.
Get it. Tell us.
Yeah. Well, hey, thanks for having me on here,
man.
Dude.
Absolutely.
So when I got out of the military, I went in right when 9/11 happened. Did 6 years there. Got out, and it's kind of like right back where I left off. Like, what do I do now?
Right.
And at one point, I just said, hey, man, like, I know I'm ambitious, but I don't know where to put that ambition. So I put as much shit in my car as I could and just drove to Chicago. And it was just kind of like a dart on the map,
From?
Columbus, Georgia.
Nice.
No way. Columbus, Georgia.
You're from Columbus?
Kind of.
That's where I'm from.
Okay. I was born in Germany.
Okay.
I'm an Army brat.
Yeah.
Moved to California when we were younger. My dad retired at Fort Benning.
Okay.
Yep. When I was in like second grade-ish.
Okay.
And then, so I went to high school down there. I went to Jordan.
Oh, nice. So you know about Victory Drive?
Oh, yeah.
He's way younger than you, though.
Yeah.
It has to be.
Nah.
I'm 96.
I don't know, man.
I'm 96. Graduated in 96.
I graduated in 2000.
Okay, so not too far.
Not too far.
So we were right there. You were going out. Coming in when I was going out.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yep.
Small
and
world.
funny, man,
So
my brother, he might actually be somebody you guys want to talk to and bring on the cast. He's a wild dude. But he went to Jordan too, and now he coaches football at Jordan.
Okay.
Ben Hagan. He's got, I just helped him get his company up and running. It's called He Rises. So he's doing health and wellness,
Cool.
kind of like that life coaching, like a football coach would do with the kids. He's doing that with other folks too.
But
So-
is he doing it with youth?
Well,
Just anybody.
at the school, youth, yeah, of course. That's
No, a
like
lot of
his
people
job.
do it on the side, and they do youth
Exactly.
too, because they need it on the side.
Yes.
No, on the side, he's doing like personal training. He's working with all ages outside of the school.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's his company.
Cool.
Outside of that, but yeah, man. So I moved to Chicago. Put as much as I could there. I mean, I lived out of my car. I was like couch surfing. I mean, I was basically homeless for a little while, you know, and I eventually kind of like networked with some folks, and I met this person that introduced me to this other person who had worked at Groupon, if y'all remember that.
Yep.
And they were like HR there or something, and they had opened up kind of this new, like I guess sister company called Inner Workings. It is the exact same business model,
Yes.
just for like print and stuff like that. And that was my first sales job.
So it wasn't digital; it was print.
Yeah. So that side of it was print. Groupon was doing all the digital.
So you were selling certs. You were selling like Groupon certificates out in the world?
No. It was like you would take on clients that were doing like packaging or
Okay.
like needed like business cards or needed anything that you could print stuff on, marketing collateral,
Gotcha.
stuff like that. And the way it worked was they would buy in bulk. They would work with print shops, whether it was T-shirts, what have you, and they would give them a ton of business.
Okay.
So they would take that buying power and leverage it down to the little guys to work with, so they could pass off the pricing
savings. Yeah.
That was the model, right?
Yeah. So it was group buying.
Group buying.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
So ended up meeting some dudes. I was probably there for like 8 months to a year, and met these guys, and they were like, "Yeah, man, we're starting this fitness app." And you said you did sales, right? And I was like, "Yeah." And they're talking to me like I'm some like seasoned veteran, and I'm like, "Dude, I'm like
faking it till you make it, right?
bro." And I'm like,
"Yeah, I know that."
"Yeah."
I'll
And so they're
have
like,
to look up the acronyms they're saying later.
"Yeah, exactly." yeah. And they're like, "Yeah, we just got this, little office, whatever. You should come by, check it out. See if you'd want to work with us." And I'm like 27 or something like that at the time, so I'm young. I've got the energy, and I've got like this sounds crazy, but like, let's look into this, right? So I meet with these dudes, and it was like an office like smaller than this, like the whole thing, and it was like true startup. There was like 3 or 4 people to start this thing. And
Did they develop it in house,
Yeah.
or did they? So they were code writers.
Yeah.
They wrote code. They brought you in to sell.
yeah,
Awesome.
I'm still friends with the dude.
Love it. Okay, gotcha.
Sergey is his name, and still friends with him. But yeah, he was the lead developer. The initial app was just so simple. It was just like 3 buttons, kind of thing, and grew it from there. But yeah, I mean, stealing Wi-Fi from other companies to really get this thing going, right? So it was true ground up bootstrapping and all that.
Borrowing Wi-Fi.
Yes.
But yeah, of course, we gave it back.
Yes, of
At some
course you
point,
did. Yeah. When we weren't there, the bandwidth was back.
Yeah, exactly. So, but it was a nightmare, dude. It was, for the first time in my life, I had to go like bartend and like nights and weekends to pay the bills, because this was 9 to 5, and much more than that, but no pay.
And you were still in Chicago.
In Chicago.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So when I first lived there, I was in the West Loop, and that was cool for like 6 months. And then you're just like, dude, like it doesn't turn off. You're like, fuck this. Mm-hmm. So I moved up to Lakeview, which is right around the corner of Wrigley, and that's where I lived. And then my office was in Lincoln Park, and so we were building this thing up, and life sucked for like a good solid year, not making fuck all.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just, what do I do? And I had to get real buddy with my landlord, and like, hey man, I might
be late a few
I
times.
might be late a couple months, and it was just really making shit work. And then, one day it just started kind of clicking. Things started happening, right? And so I was like, oh shit, well, this does work, And so we're like, then a couple more months, start talking about hiring more people, right? Because I was the only dude doing sales. And I'm talking like I had to figure shit out. I was on spreadsheets like, do we do inside sales? Do I cold call all day? Do I go walk around Chicago and, whatever? And
you're trying to get consumers to download this app.
Yep.
For exercise, right? So I'd be outside of gyms and things like that. Like, hey, this is
exactly.
That's what I would do.
So what it was is it connected gyms and personal trainers with their clients.
Okay, great.
So they had a portal to communicate, do their payments, their scheduling.
So you're selling it to personal trainers,
yes.
really?
Yes.
So they can build out their business within your software. I love it. Okay,
yeah,
gotcha.
Exactly that. And so we started hiring up some other sales folks, and we just kept growing this thing. And then we got a CRM in place. And then we up marketing, and and it goes on from there, and it was dope because I was in this position. I was out of the box thinker because I had only done sales for however long, and we start putting all these tools in place, right, to grow this thing, and I'm like, we need better process, man. This is like we're all like sales folks like just beating their head against the wall, and we have no like real guidance. So nobody else is around doing it. You're in a startup. You got to wear a lot of hats and you got to figure shit out. So I'm like architecting these CRMs and working with marketing, which Bill Colbert, shout out to him. I'm still friends with him, and he's got his own business too. But he and I would just like work together and like problem solve and figure shit out. Hey, do we need to pump more money into marketing? What does that look like? How's that, come back over to sales and all that? And then we give it, and it was just back and forth, and we're just figuring stuff out. And then we just kept moving up. I kept putting more tools in place. So I'm learning as I go. Sure. I mean, I'm just in the fire. I'm learning as I go. And I'll fast forward to right now, because in hindsight, it looked like I had created the illusion that I was really good at sales, but I wasn't. And I didn't enjoy it. I was just really fucking good at building processes. And I was really fucking good at troubleshooting. And I was really fucking good at like thinking outside of the box. And like when somebody told me no, I'm like, I don't know, man. Like they start kind of making you feel delusional, but like deep down you kind of know like you have a good idea. So you keep pushing on it. And then you kind of listen, maybe I'm a dumbass, right?
Sure.
But then you're like, no, fuck that. Like we got to do this. And then eventually they let you try it, and then it fucking works.
Right.
Oh, fuck. I'm onto something here. So we built this thing up, ultimately sold it. I went on to other startups. And right back square one. Nobody gives a fuck about the process. Everybody's just like revenue, sales, more sales guys. It's low, boards on our ass.
I feel like in a startup world, and I've said this over and over on this podcast, that they're just looking to get enough revenue to raise money.
Yep.
And then they're looking to do enough sales and add users to exit. So they don't care about the process in the middle.
Right. That's right.
I mean, they don't care about it.
That's right. But it's still important.
And it's very important. But the people that are actually in charge are developer-minded people, so they don't understand any of those processes or the sell. They don't understand marketing or that because they're writing code. Yeah. It's a special person that understands all that and writes code.
Oh,
I mean, and they're out there,
imagine,
but very little.
Yeah, dude. I mean, like, look at Elon Musk.
He's one of them.
Builds fucking rocket ships. Pioneered the whole, electric car thing.
Yep.
And is like basically a businessman out of necessity.
Sure.
That's not his natural thing.
Yep.
So, and
there's a few of them out there that can do it, and it's just a different side of the brain, and they're both working, just special dudes.
Right.
I'm not that guy, but
yeah,
they're special people.
Yeah, but I mean that's what kind of catalyzed my understanding of what I was good at.
Yep.
Was these companies kept bringing me on to do sales. And again, I had created this illusion that I was really good at sales. My numbers were good. And I was the director of sales at a young age. I was a director managing sales. And, on to the next startup. And again, it's like, okay, your process sucks. Or
what was that startup?
It was another fitness-oriented company. And they developed this little like apparatus that would like plug into cardio equipment.
Okay.
And it would collect data
For you personally?
But it was for like the gym to like see like what all their cardio stuff was doing. So it was like the easiest way to think of it is like when you have to rotate your tires, right? It was like, let's say you have a row of treadmills, right? That one over there is behind a post, so that's the sucky one. You only get on that if the other ones are taken, right? This one's got the TV in front of it, so this one's always getting used. Right? So
you have to rotate them.
You got to rotate them. Yeah. So this gave the gym owner, manager, the insight into like what the health is of each one.
Sure.
So they could like rotate them out and stuff and prolong
it makes the longevity,
life.
The longevity of the equipment. I got it.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So that's what it was. And, does Richard Hagan absolutely love that fucking idea? No. Like, it's cool, but like, so here I am, like, it's a job.
But it's a product, not a company, it seems like. It's a, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't know what that means, but I don't know how long that lasts. I feel like the machine should do that for you.
They should.
In itself.
So, and the crazy thing is they actually all have like these Ethernet jacks in them.
Yeah.
But were never used. And there's a funny story.
Oh, so they did have that, they just weren't used.
Yeah, it was like, it's been a long time since I was involved in this, but there's a story behind it, and it's something like, when all this fitness equipment was first being manufactured, there was this idea that they would put in these ports, but this was before like Wi-Fi and shit. Mm-hmm. So it became a lost cause because in practice, it was wires running all over the gym.
Yeah, you can't have that. No.
So it was an abandoned thing. And these ports are literally just covered up by panels. You don't even know they're there. Mm-hmm. Some of them are exposed, but most of them are just like hidden, just in there. And it's not till later when Wi-Fi comes out and stuff like that, and then a company figures out all these things actually have ports. That would make this much more viable, that sort of thing. Anyway, so cool, idea and all of that. But, I'm like, again, the only sales dude. I'm out in the field. I'm flying. I'm taking flights like Ubers and going to all these gyms. And it just sucks. Like, it's not fun. I don't enjoy it. And so I wasn't good at it. But it looked kind of like I was good at it because I had these good processes in place. So I eventually go on to the next one. And the theme is I keep having to be the dude that's like building the systems out. Mm-hmm. And it's not just to like make the day-to-day easier, right? It's like when somebody asks what's the forecast, and it's like you only have the gut feeling to go off of, right?
Sure.
You're just like, you have shit for data, you have shit for insight. You can't make good decisions because you're fucking shooting from the hip, and it gets annoying. And then I get fired up, and I'm like, dude, we need to be a lot smarter than this. So I'm the sales dude, sometimes the director of sales, and I take the initiative to build this shit out and give us that information. Mm-hmm. And so fast forward to my last company. I got married a year prior, just had my first son.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. He's 10 months now.
Okay.
At the time, he was like 2 months, and I got laid off. And I'm like, well, fuck, right? That's not ideal. And so I'm job hunting. I'm in a frenzy. I've got this 2-month-old son. I'm like, I got to make this little dude proud, right? He needs to grow up with a successful father figure. So I'm interviewing like a bastard. I mean, I am like... And these assholes are like taking me like to like 5 rounds, and they're just like, Jesus Christ.
And you're in Atlanta at this point.
I'm still in Atlanta.
You're back in Atlanta.
Sorry, I fast forwarded too far. So, about 5 years ago, I took a job in Atlanta, and all my family's still down in Columbus. So I was like, you know what? I'd been in Chicago for like 7 years at the time. Let's take it back to Georgia, and so. Yeah, so I'm like getting all these interviews, but it's always ending the same way, right? Hey man, like you were brilliant, but this other guy, he just has that little bit more industry experience or whatever it might be, right? So for months, dude, like months and months and months, like past when like unemployment like runs its course. Now you're fully fucked. You're like, nothing. What do you do? Mm-hmm. And then you're having that conversation with your wife. And it's just like, dude, I'm busting my ass here. Like, the only thing I can do is put in the effort. I can't make someone hire me. So I was thinking, I was like, dude, the only way I can take control of my life, the only fucking way is to start a company.
Sure.
The only way. But there's still no certainty to it.
No,
but
never.
Yeah, never, right? But you just do it. And I mean, it was like that day. I told Whitney, this is my wife's name. It's like, I just have to do this. I can't keep job hunting. At this point, it seems futile. It seems like it's not going anywhere.
Right.
And even if I did get hired, right, I'm not going to start seeing money for another couple da-da-da. So I start this thing. I mean, I go to the bank. I talk to my guy Marvis at Chase Bank, and we kind of look at some things, and he puts me in the direction of, you need this and this. We get your bank account going. All right, cool. Dude, I went home. I got my EIN number. I submitted my state business formation, built a logo, trademarked it, put my website up, bought my domain name, all of that in a day. I was nonstop, and the second the state business formation thing came back, right to the bank. It was like 10 days later. Mm-hmm. And I showed him, I was like, got all this, here's my website. And he's like, fuck, dude, that was quick. Sure. And then I had my first client just on LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. So I was like, all right, that bought me some time to kind of keep moving. It was just a real small project. It was like a $2,500 project that was like, these dudes didn't want to buy a CRM. So they're like, hey, could you build a spreadsheet that kind of like emulates a CRM? I'm like, yeah. And I'm really fucking good at spreadsheets. So let's do it. Wrote up a contract real quick. And it was that simple. But that $2,500 goes quick.
Yeah, it does.
So now I'm like, how do I market myself? I got to get back out there. So I get my CRM in place, and I'm like trying to learn marketing. And I'm like, I'm just one guy. It can't be that hard. So I email like 400 people in a day, like just cold email. I got all these companies' names and email addresses and just throw them in the HubSpot. And I create these email sequences. And then I get a speeding ticket from Google because, their whole thing now is just like, dude, it fucked me. Because they suspended my email for it was like 2 weeks.
Yes.
Yeah, dude. So now I'm like,
we're very familiar with
this.
Like
I said, we know exactly what you're talking
like,
about.
bro,
we're very familiar with this.
Now
like
what?
100 a day.
I'm sure as fuck not walking around Atlanta, doing that.
I learned fast. All you had to do is make another email address.
Facts.
Yeah, but then, I talked to a dude who was just like, yeah, man, I've got like 5 email addresses. So I'm like, dude, fuck that. Fuck that. So I was like cold calling,
Mm-hmm.
And then that sucked. And I actually don't even mind cold calling.
Right.
I really don't. Like, once you get in the groove, right, and you get your messaging, and it's the same thing every time. Yeah. As soon as somebody picks up, you're just boop, robot mode. Yeah. And then once they respond, you kind of, get more natural. But so I'm a member of this RevOps co-op on Slack, and they're a fucking great community. And we talk about all the nerdy shit that you do in RevOps and all that. And I had put something out there that was just like, hey, I had some questions about marketing. How do you do this and that? And that's when I learned that you got to warm up your domain and you got to do this. And these folks know how to do all that shit. But it's just like, I'm not going to try to learn that overnight. And I don't have any money to pay anybody to do it. Mm. This one lady who was gracious enough to say, you know what, this guy's, I could tell he's busting his tail. Let me give him a little bit of my time. And she jumped on like a 15-minute call with me. And I mean, she's like legit. She's got a podcast. She's wrote a book. She's, all this. So I'm like super grateful that she's giving me some time.
Right.
And, one of the pieces of knowledge she dropped on me was just like it's cool that you're doing the email stuff and you're grinding, but like, don't worry about doing all that. Just get on LinkedIn. Get on LinkedIn and go ham.
Okay.
Right? So I'm like, all right, cool. But like, what does that actually mean? And she's like, all right, so you have your business and you have yourself. Okay? You need to market both, and you need to market them independently. So it's starting to make more sense. I'm like, okay. I don't have to look like a D-bag on one hand that I'm just like soliciting my company. So I only do that on my Lionhearted page. And I'm giving out, basically information on what I do. I'm promoting the business on my Lionhearted page. And then on my personal page, I'm just like, pulling the Gary V card. Like, you're just marketing yourself. Like, be kind and empathetic and love people and do business and, be great. that sort of shit, right? And so I'm like, all right, cool. I'm just going to drop little nuggets of knowledge that I've gained over the past 15 years of being in startups, and the losses that I've had and the wins that I've had and the crazy shit that I've been through. So that's what I'm like doing over there. And now all of a sudden, people are engaging with me.
Yeah. I feel like it's easier on LinkedIn to get them to engage with the personal, not the business, just because they see you. Mm-hmm. And as long as you can get some dialogue there.
Yeah. Those videos have been great on LinkedIn as well because it's interaction with each other. So I can see how that could work well on your personal side.
Yeah.
Well, what are you doing on the Lionhearted side? What are you doing to keep that going? What is that?
I had, when I got my logo built out, I got my brand kit and everything like that. So I would build out like these, these like one pagers. And I mean, it was like, some of it was, inspirational. Some of it was just like, your process sucks and I know it sucks. So like, let's work together, that sort of shit. But
it should work though, but it never does it.
Dude,
your business is terrible.
I know your process sucks. I already know without talking to you.
Your business is terrible.
I mean, look, just by pure probability, your process sucks. Yeah. Like 90% of the viewers that watch this, if they have any sort of process, and they, it does.
Yeah.
But. Yeah, so that's what I was doing. I was like building out these little things that had the Lionhearted logo on it, and I wanted to make it look nice and class and that. But the immediate interactions were like people that I knew in my network. Some of them closer than others. Some people I hadn't talked to in 5 years. Some people maybe I talked to 2 weeks ago. Whatever. But over the course of 15 years, you get a network of folks. And one of those folks was actually. Go back to Groupon, my first thing, he came in as a sales manager while I was there, and he was somebody that I had talked to. He was probably like the first mentor I had in my career. And he was this dude that could just tell that I wasn't good at sales, but I was a genuine person, and that I was trying to do consultative sales while other people were trying to do like, don't get off the phone until you hear 50 million no's and all that, like the hardcore shit.
Yeah.
And I was like the genuine dude.
The impulse salespeople, yeah, of
course. Yeah,
of course, yeah.
Who don't believe in follow-ups. Like, I'm going to sell this thing now, or I'm not going to sell it type thing.
Yeah.
And they'll burn that bridge before they get off phone.
Well, it's just a terrible way to sell in 2024.
In period.
In the early 2000s, there were products that you could do that with, but with what you sell and what we sell, you can't do that anymore.
No.
It's a 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 15 touch sell.
But because I was approaching this in a genuine way, right? It was like I was cool and confident with following up. Hey, you don't want to move this thing forward while we're on the phone right now? That's cool. What are you doing next week?
Yep.
All right. Hey, look, let's take 10 minutes on the 12th, maybe around like 3. Does that work? All right, cool. We'd follow up, and then they don't feel threatened by me, right? I'm building an authentic relationship with them, and I had my own little mini processes going, so it worked. And he just recognized that, and he wasn't on my ass about you got to do it this way, da. And he was just like, dude, I can tell, man, like you're gonna be successful, right? And he was like the only person in the world like telling me that at the time. So he was one of the dudes that like reached out to me with this Lionhearted push. And he's like, hey, man, you got 30 minutes? So we jump on a Zoom, and it was one of the best conversations I ever had, man. And, we're partnering and sharing business with each other.
Nice.
So, and because, he's in that space too. He just does something different. So it's complementary, and we can help each other out like that.
So when you talk about processes and you're talking about Lionhearted, you're talking about CRM tools with processes that help marketing and salespeople meet.
Yeah,
and building a pipeline for consultative type sales instead of impulse type sales. and keeping up with them, correct?
Yeah. I mean, it's deeper than that. That's the gist of it.
And do you work with any CRM? Do you do with Salesforce, or you said HubSpot? Is that your main one?
HubSpot's my main one.
Okay.
And I think that's a go-to for startup companies.
Sure.
Salesforce is really good for the more handling the complex shit.
Yep.
And HubSpot has grown. Like when I first started, HubSpot didn't have a sales component. They were marketing.
Yep.
And like my first company, it was like we had Salesforce for sales, HubSpot for that, and they had integrations. Like they could talk to each other. Then HubSpot started doing sales, and at the time, it was kind of like when like Hulu came out. You're like, the fuck are you gonna do? Netflix has got it on lock, right? So, but yeah, sure enough, it was like HubSpot started coming up in the game with their sales stuff, and maybe the first like even 10 years, it was okay, right? Real simple. So it had a place in the market. But like now, they're like every year I go back and look at HubSpot, they've got all these crazy new features, all the shit. They're taking it very seriously. They're really looking at these like intricate ways of tooling, and it's a brilliant system. It's a brilliant system. So I can build out Salesforce. I've done a lot. I can build out HubSpot. I can build out Pipedrive. I can build out Go High Level. I architect all of that stuff. So it's not just about consulting on your process and what you're doing wrong and how you can do it better. I'm the architect as well. I can go in and code all this stuff up, and make it work, and get the automations built in. So your sales folks' fingers aren't bleeding because they're pushing all these buttons and shit.
Sure.
It's like one thing gets done, they hit one button, fires off the email, moves it through the pipeline, all of that shit all in one go, just streamlines it.
So you've been doing this now for 10 months.
My Lionhearted, 6 months officially, but I was doing some freelance right before.
Right, because you were telling your kid's 10 months old, and that's when he was 2 months when you went and when you kind of went and did all this at the bank and everything, correct?
So he was 2 months when I got laid off.
When you got laid off.
And that was like, call it last October. Okay. And then I was job hunting through December. Mm-hmm. Come January,
you're like, fuck it, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
What do you find? I mean, I know that you had your mentor come back in and kind of talk, and that probably really amped you up, and you're like, dude. Which is awesome. I love that. I have a bunch of mentors in my life that did the same thing. They were from past jobs.
Yeah.
They were from past things that just look at it at a little bit different of an angle, and make you go, okay, well, I need to think about that. What verticals have you, in that 6 months, have you gone, hey, this is really kind of where I live right now, like verticals of businesses?
So it wouldn't be industry related. It's really just like startups and small businesses.
Okay.
Yeah, because...
So people that are doing under $1 million, maybe, that's kind of your sweet spot right now. Okay.
Now, every now and then, I'll encounter a company. So one of my clients has a client that I was brought in to work with, and I won't even say the company's name because they're a fucking mess.
Yeah.
Like their C-suite's just revolving door. They're trying to figure shit out, and
every time you change a C-suite, the new person wants to come in there and wreak havoc and do it their own way. And I get that, but it's just it's not good for the health of the business.
No, and then and it's like, and then trying to work with them, you're like, you have more questions than answers when they're the ones that are supposed to be,
asking the questions, Joe.
Yeah, and you're like,
sure.
Well, how am I supposed to scope anything out? Yeah. I'm trying to do discovery, and you still have, questions you need answers to before you can give me those answers. You know what I'm saying? So there are larger, and they're a larger company. So there are larger companies that would benefit from me coming in and helping out. But for the most part, because I've been in the startup space for so long, I understand the cash constraints. I understand that process isn't on the forefront of their priorities, right? And I understand that. Like, go find yourself a hardcore sales dude, right? Get him out there. He's going to come back with money.
Get some cash.
Right? Yeah. Right? I understand all that. But here's the fuck thing that if you're just looking at this from like surface level, right? You're like, yeah, the process shit can wait. Let's get some money in the door. Cool. But what happens is you never find that good moment where it's like, all right, let's put the process in. But also that time you're losing intelligence, you're losing information, you're losing data. And important data to help you continue to grow.
Yeah,
right?
we've just been having this conversation like a few days ago. I mean, like yesterday, the day before, because we're doing this new process of filling pipeline, and you know, Roderick brought it up that we're not using our CRM to what it needs to be, and we're not using it.
Yeah,
we're just not using it to its full potential.
Right.
So we literally, like, the data that is in there is data that we mined. We didn't load it in there. We mined it, and it's just sitting there. And the reps probably aren't doing what they're supposed to do on an everyday basis.
I'll say an everyday basis. It's not using it to what it should be used for. It's just like a data bank.
Yeah,
basically.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, like, one of the things, you know, one of the first...
That's a good word, data bank, because a bank, it's closed on Sundays.
Yeah, it's just in there.
You know what I mean? It's just banking stuff.
Yes, facts.
So...
It needs to be a bank withdrawal system, is what it needs to be.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, you know, one of the first questions I'll ask somebody is like, what's your forecast? And most of the time it's like, well, I don't know. You know, because my one-on-ones with my sales dudes, it's like, what do you think's closing this week? What do you think's closing? You know, what do you have? You know, all this shit. If you have to ask those fucking questions, and if the only thing you have to go by is your sales rep's gut feeling, dude, you're fucking up.
The sales rep doesn't always have. They're not always, especially in the first. They're not giving you. They're giving you opinions, and they're giving you bad information, because it's the world. It's not a lie. It's the world that they're living in.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. And they're always going to lean
Don't you
towards
agree?
the optimistic.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
If you're having a one-on-one, right?
Sucks.
And you're telling your manager, like, yeah, you know, this thing's going to close. You're always going to make yourself look. You're always going to lean it to make yourself look a little bit better.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So it's not accurate. You need the fucking data to be accurate.
Sure.
So what I tell people is, it's like, dude, look, all right, we're going to start in marketing, right? What are your lead sources? Okay, we've got these leads from this conference. We got these leads that we, you know, scraped off the web. We got these. That needs to be information that's attached to every single fucking lead that comes in, right? Name and company, where they came from.
And attached to a rep.
Attached to a rep, all that, right? Yeah. Now, as it moves through the buyer's journey, the pipeline, right? That data maintains through that. And you collect new data, right? Have the CRM hygiene, have the sales rep discipline to put that data in. As it moves along, right? You start closing more business, right? Now you have intelligence that informs you, hey, these lead sources are actually much better than these lead sources. If you don't do that, you don't know. You're just showing. So, like, let's say, like, this person comes in and this person comes in, and they're moving through the pipeline. And this dude's this lead source is closing at like 80%. You know, just let's use, you know, generic figures here. And then this dude comes in, but they're like, this lead source is only closing at like fucking 5%. If you're not paying attention to that, if you're not collecting that data, your sales reps are treating both of those lead sources all the same, and you're not prioritizing this dude, and you're spinning your wheels with this lead source, right? So that's like one small, probably easy analogy to.
Well, if you want to put it in in not a technical sense, with these guys at the end of the year, we sit down, me and Roger sit down with our salespeople and go, all right, let's go through every deal you closed this whole year.
Yeah,
where did it come from? Because that's important, right? And this is not even a tech thing. It's, where did this come from? Well, this came from the B&I group that I visited in Ackworth, and this one came from the Cobb Chamber of Commerce, and this one came from our SIP event that we do, and this one came from this, and then we find out, we stack it up, and this one
it's a waste of time.
It served you no purpose. So we're talking about the source. This is a source that you put into the pipeline, right? That's and then you make it you make it data that's now in the ether, right? So you're doing that. But you're like, dude, number one, are you going to that group consistently? Are you building relationships in that group? Because if you're not doing that, don't do it. Don't do that anymore, or do the group right.
Yeah.
Make sure is it a good group? Because sometimes it's just not a good group.
Yep.
So 80% of your stuff, like you just said, came from these two things. So we either need to make these better or just focus on this.
Right.
One or the other. And that doesn't mean I'm standing on the outside looking in going, I don't know if this is worth it. You got to tell me.
Yes.
Yeah. And look, and the thing is like there's no one answer to that. What that does is show you, hey, we need to look into this. It might not just be because they're a bad fit and we just happen to get a ton of leads because at one point we said, hey, maybe this demographic or whatever it may be would be a good fit. You got a bunch of leads for it and you tried it out. It could be that they just aren't a good fit.
Sure.
Or it could be that you try to use the same messaging for these dudes as these dudes,
and it's not
and they don't give a fuck about the same thing.
Yes.
Right? So if you can figure that out, now you go back to marketing and say, we need to define our buyer personas, and then we build a value matrix, right? You don't try to prescribe the same medication to everybody. You got to figure out what they like.
100%.
And you got to tell them a story that makes sense to them and that they can relate to.
Yeah.
And not all your customers are gonna be intrigued or compelled by the same thing.
They're not, definitely
so it could
not.
be that.
So it's the difference between when you started going to the techie groups and I'm going, stop saying credit card processing.
Right.
Stop saying that is not their lingo. That's not their messaging.
Exactly.
And you literally switched your pitch and you're like, oh, they
understand.
They dig that payment integrations and API docs, and you're doing the same message. You say it in a different way. And the end result, we're making a merchant out of it. But these guys hear this and go, okay. Revenue stream, what you've been pitching crazy now.
Yeah, it's been a huge difference because what you're saying, you got to tailor it towards it. But if you don't have the right data or you don't know who you're talking to properly,
if you're asking techie guys for referrals for transmission shops, you ain't getting shit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
You're not getting anything, But if you go to the local chamber of commerce that has a lot of automobile or insurance or whatever you're trying to sell, you go, all right, well, this is what I'm looking for because those are their clients. You can get that.
That's right. That's right. Now, I do have a question. I know what you're doing. You're finding the processes. Where do you see the business going? What are your aspirations, and where do you want the business to be?
Yeah, I mean, right now I'm kind of doing the solopreneur thing. So eventually, I would like to hire somebody to do the actual building of like the CRMs and stuff. And those people exist, right? There are other RevOps people. It's kind of, RevOps is kind of an emerging concept.
Sure it is.
Right? And like I was doing RevOps before RevOps was a thing. You know what I mean? And people are starting to see the importance of it. More and more startups are starting to take it more seriously because at first you think of it as like a luxury component to a business. And that's why it's always like, once we start doing X amount of money, then we'll kind of bring that in, which is fine. That's fine. So what I do is like fractional. You don't have to hire me and, give me equity or unless you want to. I'll take some points, right? Yeah. But, you don't have to, pay my health insurance and 401k and all that shit. And you don't need to like bring me on and it's like, okay, you did all the heavy lifting. Now what? And we're still going to pay you. Come in fractional, whether I give you whether I'm like functioning full time for a couple weeks or if it's, 6 months and I'm only kind of putting in 1 day a week or something like that. That's fine. Eventually I want, the plan is to get to a point where I'm talking to companies, I'm hyping them up about RevOps, they hire me, and then I've got a guy to build it out and he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
But then I'm extremely OCD and I'm extremely perfectionist and I'm extremely a perfectionist. And so I want to be able to also kind of play that QA. So like when that's built, I want to make sure it's up to the standard, I want it to be.
Right.
And this is something I really enjoy doing. So like my projects are never like, all right, that's good enough. Let's get it out the door. Like the spreadsheet thing I built for this dude, I literally built out as close as you can get to a CRM in Google Sheets.
Nice.
And I had fun with it. Like I was like up at night drinking beer, like, oh, you know what?
Terrible to me.
Yeah, sounds like
everybody loves their own thing. Yeah.
And that's what's fucking crazy too. It wasn't until later in life because I like have fun with this shit.
Sounds terrible.
And I'm like, all these sales dudes. I'm like, I like feel bad. Like, am I like, do they want to be doing the fun shit? And it like took me years to know. Like, salespeople are like, are you fucking kidding me?
No way, dude.
Absolutely
I'm a sales
fucking
guy.
not.
No,
I just want to sell, dude.
Nah, man, I want to sell, and that's the thing. You let your salespeople sell, man, and don't change their shot. Like your mentor told you, you're more of a consultative type seller. You really got to stop saying that you're not a salesman. You definitely are.
Yeah, I'm about to say anything you do,
you just approach it a little different,
right?
Yeah. But it's I've been that impulse sales guy, and I've been the consultative guy, and we really are more consultative sales people now because you got it. This industry's changed so much. It's not an impulse selling. The payment industry is just, you're not going to do it because you got to change too much processes sometimes to change the payments. So it's just not. It's not viable to impulse pitch somebody. And if you do, that's typically a really bad client.
Yeah, because they're willing to change so easy.
So typically a client
they'll change from
you might or might not want, but it's definitely not going to make you a lot of money. No company worth its salt is going to change in a day or 2 or 3 days for a sales pitch.
Right.
I guess it depends on how good you look, and I'm not there. So
that is funny. That's funny. Now, you've shared with us throughout this podcast about your business things, what you're doing. Now, let's just say you've gotten everybody's process in place. Tell us a little bit about Richard. What does Richard like to do outside of the fun stuff with the coding? What do you like to do, man?
Yeah, more spreadsheets.
That's it, huh? No beaches, no basketball.
Yeah, say no knitting, no quilting, just straight spreadsheets.
No, a little quilting. Yeah, my wife and I play tennis. And she's a maniac with that stuff. I mean, she's in like every league. She would play in the men's leagues if she could. Okay. Like she's doing, the mixed doubles, the women's doubles, the women's singles. Like, every season, she's in those alternating leagues. And so we play together. She got me into it during COVID. And
what part of town do you live in?
Brookhaven.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, we're in Brookhaven, man. So, we were in Buckhead. We built a house in Brookhaven, and then, that's where our anchor's at now. But yeah, so tennis is one hobby. I'm a huge nerd. I like video games, not like comic books, but like when I was younger I did. Now it's like just the movies.
Yes.
So I'm a huge fan of those. I'm a huge fucking science nerd. So I'll like stay up on like a Friday night with some like whiskey and like just listen to like Dr. Michio Kaku like go off on string theory or something.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So like I'm really into that.
What did you do you watch Rogan?
Yeah.
We're not going to go off on this for a long time because we're about out of time. But did you watch the Terrence Howard?
Yes.
What do you think?
He's a fucking idiot.
Because I was like, yo, this dude, I'm just not smart enough to comprehend this. And I'm going, I don't know, man.
He's full of shit. All right, look. All right.
He's such a smart guy, though. He really is.
He's articulate.
But
he
he's
sounds
he's
good.
very articulate, but he's a professional actor, and he's a really good professional actor.
He's a phenomenal actor. He's really good. I think he's a talented dude, and I think his head's in the right place because he's trying to problem solve, right?
He is.
He's trying.
Did you see this?
Yes, I saw it.
It's insane, right?
It is.
Because I was just like, I'm not even smart enough to know if he's right or not.
At times, I was like, well, I have to believe him because I don't know.
Because he sounds fucking good.
Yes.
Right,
yes.
and he
and he is smart.
He tricks you into making you think is making sense, but he's not. Look, let's talk about this real quick. So, one of the things he was trying to posit was, what happens when you multiply something, And you're just like, oh, that's right. So how is 1 times 1 1?
Right.
If you're multiplying it, and you're just like, fuck, that does make sense.
It does.
But then you like snap out of it, and you're like, dude, you dumbass. It's because multiplication is not, you're taking the word out of context and or too literally, and they're sets.
Sure.
Multiplication is just sets.
But don't you think? Okay, so this is the only thing. I'm not for him and not against him. I'm a common sense thinker, and don't you think humanity in general could have gotten it wrong from stage one, and then we're just building blocks over. We're building blocks over the wrong thing, just something slightly wrong. Don't you think that a lot of our practices can be that way?
So,
especially in the process of business, you're in the process. But if you start one little thing,
yep.
So
the answer to your question is no.
Okay.
No, it's not.
No,
it's not.
He says no.
It's not. They didn't get it wrong, Terrence. You're full of shit, dude.
You're crazy.
You're full of shit, man. Look, sets. If you multiply 1 by 64, it's 64.
Sure.
Because you have one, call it a box of goods.
Yep.
You have one of 64, right? You're not multiplying 64 by anything. It's just itself. Right. When you have 2 boxes of 64 things, now it's multiplied by 2.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So he does.
We can talk about this for about 5 hours.
I know.
He makes it sound good, but he makes no sense.
Yeah, we're gonna do that podcast. We're gonna do that podcast later. We'll do that on Soup Sandwich.
I'll see you.
No, let's do that on Soup Sandwich because we can get wild with that.
We're doing that on Soup Sandwich. We'll drink some beers and get crazy on it, because that was I love the podcast. Don't get me wrong. I don't care how crazy somebody is. I love the podcast in general.
Oh, it's great.
But look, tell everybody how to get a hold of you. What's your email address, your phone number, website address, everything.
Yeah. So my web is lionhearted.ai. My email address is richard@lionhearted.ai. Website's still not even fully built. It's just kind of like a billboard almost.
Sure. Holding place.
Yeah. Number's 404-862-1073. Text me, call me. If you're interested in anything, I have to say, if you're running into process problems, holler at me. And I can always craft out something that makes sense for startups, because that's the big thing. Mm-hmm. We don't want to spend money on it, but you still need it.
For sure.
We can do rev share or something. Sure. We'll do something that makes sense.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. Burn the ship. Everybody watch all of them. Come back and watch this one. Call this guy. He knows what he's talking about. He's got a lot of experience, and everybody be kind to each other out there.